Let's take a tour of Google Classroom so you can understand how to access it and how it's organized. Within any NPS Google account, you can click on the 9 dots, which some people call the waffle. Once you click on them, a number of Google apps will appear. Choose Classroom from the list. If you don't see it, use the scroll bar on the right-hand side to scroll down lower where it might be hiding. When you log into Google Classroom, you'll see a main screen with a class card for each class you're either a teacher or a student in. The class cards have the name, 3 dots in the corner where you can do a number of things like edit the name of the class. Or you can click on the folder in the bottom right to access the folder in your drive that was created especially for this class. Or the little arrow to access the grades quickly for this class, the grade book. Within the class card, you can also see any assignments that are coming up and due soon. Also on this home screen, there's a place to access work students have turned in that you still need to review. When you click on this, you can see work from all your classes assembled in one place, or you can filter by class. You can also click on the calendar to see assignments that are due for all classes that you're part of, or filter it again by class. When you click on a class, it opens to the Stream page. Google Classroom is split into 4 main sections: the Stream, Classwork, People, and Grades. At the top of the Stream page is the class banner. To customize the banner, you can select another theme or upload your own photo. As you scroll down, you can see announcements that were posted in order of the most recent to the oldest. This is very similar to a social media feed. You can draft and schedule announcements and control who comments or replies to posts. If students turn on notifications, they'll get an email when you post an announcement. This is a great place to post morning meeting messages or remind students of important events. In the People section of Classroom, you can see which teachers and students have already been added to the class. To add additional people, click the plus, type in the name, and click Invite. You can add students yourself at the beginning of the year or share the class code with them on the class card on the front page of Google Classroom and have them join the class themselves. On the student page, you can also use the 3 dots to the right of any name to email a student or teacher, remove them from the class, or mute them if necessary. There may be times when a student makes a mistake and posts something they shouldn't, and in that case, you might choose to mute them until you have a chance to talk about the acceptable use policy. You can also select student names, one or more at the same time, and go to the Actions menu, where you can email a group of students, remove them, or mute them. From the People tab, if you click on a student's name, it shows you a work summary for that particular student. It identifies what's assigned, what the scores are, what's missing, what's complete, and you can even filter it by category. Some teachers like to screenshot this and email it to families to show them what may still need to be done or what needs to be caught up on at home. The Classwork tab is where the content for your classroom lives. This is where you post assignments and resources for students. Classwork is organized into topics. The topics are listed along the left-hand side. You choose them, and they are the headers that you see in the darker, larger font. There's quite a variety of ways you can organize your Classwork page, and it really depends on what works best for you and your students. Some people choose to organize it by week, some by subject area, some by unit, or maybe you have another idea. We'll get into detail about some of these later on. There are different types of content you can put on this page. By clicking the Create button, you can make an assignment, assign a quiz, ask a question of students, post a material for them to refer to, or reuse a post from a colleague or from another class you've taught. This is also where you can create a new topic or header to use to organize your other assignments. When you select assignment, there's a space to put the title of your assignment. We'll call this one Frog Observation. You can type the instructions, add a document if you wish from Google Drive, or add a YouTube clip, add a link to a website for them to refer to. And on the right-hand side, you can say which class it's for. This is for my sample class, but all of my other classes are listed. I could assign to more than one class if I wish. I can automatically assign it to all students, or I can unselect that and select just a couple students, which is helpful for differentiation or when you're doing group work and groups have different assignments. You can decide if this should be an ungraded assignment or if you want there to be a certain number of points. Put if there's a due date, or leave that blank if there's no due date. And this is where you can select which topic you want it to fall under. If the topic you want for this assignment isn't available, you can create a topic right here. There's an option to put a rubric in for any assignment and to reuse rubrics you've created in the past, and we'll talk about that later. When you're done, you can decide if you'd like this to be assigned immediately by clicking Assign, or by using the drop-down next to that, you can save it as a draft if you need to continue working on it, or schedule this to post for students at a certain time. Some people like to do all their planning and assignment building on one day and schedule them to post throughout a week or throughout a unit. It all depends on your style of planning. As I begin to build this assignment, I've put in some more specific instructions to complete an observation sheet and then read about the stages of the life cycle on a separate website. So now I'm going to add the resource. I'm going to add the link to the website first, which I already copied and I'll paste in. And I'm going to add the Google document from my Google Drive, which I had already created, called Frog Observation. You can type in the search bar the name of the document if you don't see it in your recent view, or click on My Drive and go through your folders to find it. I'll click Insert. Now this Google Doc appears, and right now it is set so that students can just view that file, which isn't super helpful if I need them to complete it. So by using the drop-down, I can decide if students should all be able to edit the same file or if I want it to make a copy for each student. For most assignments you'll want to select Make a Copy for Each Student. Once I do that and I've made my other choices here, I'm going to put this under the science category. I'm not going to attach a rubric right now, but we'll get to that later. And I'll have it assigned to all students, and I will click Assign because I'd like it to appear right away. So now I can see if I click on the science topic here or scroll down to it, that frog observation here was posted. It doesn't have a due date because I didn't pick one. If I realize, oh, I forgot to put the due date and I'd like to go back and edit it, I can click on the three dots next to any assignment to edit it. Here, I can now pick a due date and say, I think this should be due by Thursday, and I can save. As you use Google Classroom more and more, or if you're working with colleagues who've used it in the past, you may find that you prefer to reuse posts that already exist. Coordinators have put a number of things up on some Google Classrooms, and again, your colleagues might already have things created. You can also work as a team and split up the work so you all create different assignments and reuse them from each other. To reuse an assignment, click the Create button and go down to Reuse Post. Here you can see I'm in the Math Master class for 5th grade, If you want to select an assignment from a different class, use the back arrow at the top. Select the class and then the assignment. I'll go back to the Math Master and I'll pick this perimeter and area of rectangles assignment, which is lesson 825. Before I click reuse, I want to be sure that on the left-hand side, I have selected to create new copies of all attachments. Usually that's unchecked the first time you reuse an assignment, but after that, the default is to leave it checked off. But please double check that to be sure you create new copies of the attachments. Select Reuse. This creates a draft of the assignment, which you can then edit. You can add your own instructions. You can add any other documents or links or resources, a rubric, due date, points, and choose which students you want to assign it to. You can also see that by reusing a post, it came with the topic that it was in the former class. You can click an X to remove that topic and put it under the topic you want it to be under, if you prefer. From there, you can either assign it immediately or click to schedule, assign this for a different day and a different time. In my classwork then, if I come down to Math Unit 8, I can see that assignment there and that it is scheduled for June 17th. Students will not see that until it is actually scheduled and appears. They don't see it as a draft view. You can create a quiz assignment in Classroom where students complete and submit a Google Forms quiz. You can assign the quiz assignment to one or more classes or to individual students. Schedule it to post later, add a due date and time, and add attachments. Google Forms can automatically grade the quiz, and you can import the grades into Classroom. Students can see their grades immediately or after you review their answers. You can also lock a quiz on managed Chromebooks at school. Under the Create menu, you can also pose a question to your class. This can be a short answer or a multiple choice question. After you post the question, you can track the number of students who responded. You can draft the questions to post later. You can post a question to individual students or a group, and you can decide whether or not students will be able to see the class summary. If you need a material for students to refer to, you can select Create Material. In this case, I'm going to create a show, don't tell anchor chart for writing. I could add a description if I wish, but I'm going to click Add and select File because on my desktop I have a photograph that I took of an anchor chart I had on easel paper. And I'll select Browse and look for it. Open it. And now I can post that. I can select a topic for it to go into if I wish, and decide if I want all students to see it or just some. This way, students can look back at that chart as they're working. You always could attach this picture to a specific writing assignment also. It doesn't have to go in as a separate material. It could be a material within an assignment if you prefer. You can post right away or use the drop-down to schedule the post. As I mentioned, you can reorganize or reorder your topics by clicking on the three dots to the right of a topic and moving it up or down. You can also reorder them by clicking on the topic name and dragging it into a different order. That changes the order in this left column as well. You cannot reorganize it from this column on the left. Within any topic, you can click on an assignment to expand it and see the details. If I look at this assignment, I can see that 2 students have turned it in and 2 students have it assigned but have not turned it in yet. By clicking on that number, the summary for that assignment shows up. I've now begun reviewing the work for this assignment. I can see now that one student has turned it in, but the work still needs to be reviewed. Two students have it assigned to them and haven't completed it, and I have returned one student's work. By clicking on the student who's turned it in, I can see their work. I can post any comments. And I can return the work to the student. From this menu, I can also use the drop-down and see and quickly navigate to any other student's work I need to check. Back on the classwork tab, after refreshing, I can see that on this assignment, it now appears that no students have turned the work in. That just means that there are no assignments for me to review right now. Two other people have still been assigned it and have not turned it in, and there are two students who I have returned the work to already. The last tab is the Grades tab. In Google Classroom, you can access the same thing from multiple places. From the Grading tab, you can see a quick summary of all students' work. You can click on a specific student to see that work summary, as we saw in the People tab. You can click on an assignment to see all the student work for that assignment, as we saw when we clicked on the assignment from Classwork. You can also click on a specific student's work for any particular assignment by going to the three dots and selecting View Submission. From this view, you can give feedback on or grade the work and then return it to the student. Again, you can use the drop-down to navigate from student to student and grade multiple students without going back to the gradebook page. From the grading page for an assignment, I can also message specific students. If I want to select the students who this was assigned to but haven't turned it in yet, I can select that, click the email icon, and it creates a message to those specific students titled with the assignment title. I could then remind them in a message, please don't forget to turn in this assignment, or give them suggestions on how to get started. I want to take a minute to show you the student view of Classroom and give you a brief tour of that, since it looks a little bit different than the teacher view. Students also see class cards for each card on which they're a student. On the class card, they see upcoming assignments. They can click to see their work summary, as you could see it, and they can click to access their folder in Drive that goes along with this class. They can also see a list of their to-dos for all classes, or a classroom calendar that shows the different assignments for all classes. Once they click on the class, they have three main tabs: the Stream, Classwork, and People. They do not have the Grading tab. On the Stream, they can see any messages you've posted, along with upcoming assignments. On the Classwork tab, they see the topics with all the different assignments. They do not see topics if there's nothing in that topic assigned to them. This can really help as you're differentiating work and wanting students to only see what pertains to them. From the Classwork page, the student can scroll down and click on any assignment to expand it. They can select View Assignment, read any directions, and click on any PDFs or Google Docs that are related to it. After they complete the work, they can turn it in. Students can also quickly access their grades and feedback by clicking on their work summary from the class card. Here, they can click on any assignment that has been graded, see their score and private comments, and view the details if they'd like. From the People tab, students can see the list of teachers and classmates. They can click on the email icon to email you directly.